Good morning, sports fans. It's Monday, December 16th, 9:06 in the morning here in Western Iowa. The Seahawks looked terrible last night, and that was before Geno Smith got hurt. Anyway, you didn't tune in for sports. It's weather time, and of course, we'll have that update on a possible white Christmas near you coming up at the end of this little forecast for you. But we'll start with the hazards as always. Here are the watches and warnings across the country. We'll start out in New England. A little bit of snow for Connecticut into New York and even northern Pennsylvania. And then the rest is on the west as far as the snow goes. Winter weather advisories, pretty widespread from, say, Wyoming into Idaho, Montana, into Washington State. We do have some winter storm warnings there, a little bit near Yellowstone, and then also for the Oregon Cascades into eastern Oregon. Winter weather advisories for Northern California and down the Sierra Nevadas. A little bit of wind issues for Northern California, Southern Oregon, also into South Dakota, North Dakota, and a little bit of Wyoming. And it'll be breezy here. I mean, we're at 28 degrees right now. We had fog last night, but it got blown out of here with the winds increasing, but there's a heavy frost over everything. One of the school districts just north of me is having a 2-hour delay because of the icy roads. Meanwhile, our 24-hour temperature change across the country, it's much warmer than yesterday for like Oklahoma into Arkansas, Missouri, much cooler than yesterday for much of the Rockies and into the northern plains there in Montana, a little bit warmer than yesterday for, say, California into Oregon and Washington. Current temperatures, yes, we're in the 20s here in Iowa. Idaho, you're in the 20s and teens in the mountains, of course. And then you get into the Rockies and you see lots of 20s and teens. Quite warm for much of Texas into Oklahoma, Louisiana, Arkansas, Mississippi, Western Tennessee, even into southern Illinois. So pretty warm start here this morning for those folks. All right, surface for today. We have that cold front blowing through the upper Midwest. That's where our wind is coming from. And approaching colder front into Montana and North Dakota. Heavy snow for Oregon and the mountains of Idaho. It's a mixture otherwise. Rain along the coast. Showers, Texas through parts of the southeast into the Tennessee Valley and up Illinois, Indiana. And a little bit of showery activity for Florida. There you see your snow or your mixture for New York, Vermont, and even some freezing rain up there in New Hampshire and Maine. Anomalous temperatures today. I mean, it's pretty much above average. A few places slightly below, just call it near average. But yeah, very warm for this time of year, especially Illinois, Indiana, and even down into Texas. Highs today, we're going to be in the 40s here in Iowa. You have to get up into Minnesota for 30s and 20s, North Dakota 20s. But then you look in the south, a lot of 70s in Texas, into the southeast. Is that an 80 or 2 down there in Florida? And even warm for the mid-Atlantic with some 60s there for North and South Carolina, and 50s along the northwest coast. Lows tomorrow morning, again, another warm start for East Texas, Louisiana, into Mississippi, and for Florida. And then colder as you head north, of course, into the plains, especially the northern plains. There's 9 for Minot, North Dakota. Surface tomorrow shows that cold front coming down into the northern plains with some snow. Montana, South Dakota, North Dakota, Minnesota, even a sliver of northern Iowa, but not here in western Iowa. Some snow for Colorado, Wyoming, heavy snow. South of Yellowstone, South Yellowstone, and south of Yellowstone. Heavy snow for the mountains of Washington. And it's a mixture otherwise in the northwest. And a mixture for the Great Lakes. Anomalous temperatures tomorrow. Pretty warm everywhere compared to average, but a little below average there in the northern plains with that next shot of cold air coming. Highs tomorrow only in the teens and 20s in North Dakota and Montana. 20s mostly for Minnesota into South Dakota. We'll still be hanging on to the 40s here tomorrow in Iowa, much of Iowa anyway, but that's going to change. And then very warm Texas across the southeast into the mid-Atlantic, and about average there for the west coast. 48-hour precipitation. We're seeing some pretty heavy rains there in Kentucky and into western Tennessee and down into Arkansas. And that'll go also for the Atlantic coast for Florida. You get up into the Pacific Northwest, it's rain or snow depending on elevation and location, and same for Northern California. Here's where that snow is. And we're talking some snow for South Dakota into Minnesota, a little bit for some parts of Iowa, but into Wisconsin, some light snow, Michigan too. And better snows up there in Montana, in the plains. And for the Northwest, we'll zoom in. It's heavy snow for the mountains of Idaho. We're talking 1.5 feet, approaching 2 feet in some areas. That's a couple feet of snow near Yellowstone in Wyoming, and a couple areas near a couple feet in the Cascades of Oregon and Washington. And is that a dusting for Boise? Could be. Could be a little bit of snow there. Surface on Wednesday, here comes the cold air for the upper Midwest, including Iowa. But some freezing rain, they've already been dealing with some of that, and it's been very bad. And so Montana into North Dakota, some more freezing rain. Same for New York, Massachusetts, Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine. Rain as you head south. Showery for the southeast. Anomalous temperatures on Wednesday getting below average now. Much below average, 16 degrees below average for Minot. In a cold place anyway. So it's going to be very cold as we head into Wednesday. Right around average here in Iowa, but below freezing. And then warm temperatures still hanging on in the southeast and a lot of the west, those highs, excuse me, 70s for the southeast into Florida. And then you head up into the northern plains and we've got temperatures maybe even single digits for parts of North Dakota into Minnesota. All right, let's take a look at the GFS model, and we'll take you through Christmas and beyond. And the white Christmas forecast looks interesting. So, just a little teaser for you to stay till the end. But a little bit of light snow in the Boise area and eastern Oregon, eastern Washington. Along the Cascades, it's heavier. Rain along the coast. We have rain here from southern Indiana, southern Illinois, near Paducah, Kentucky, down into Arkansas. And as we go through time today, that heavier rain moves into Ohio and moving further to the east. So heavy snow along the Great Lakes here and some pretty good rains on top of that, and then trailing back through Arkansas, even into a little bit of Texas. You see the snow here. Let me back up a little bit. So, we see, I don't know if it's going to snow in Boise, maybe a little bit. Yeah, there you go. Some snow for Boise as we get later into today, heavier in the mountains. Rain along the coast, and then the rain moving into the Great Lakes later today as we get, this is midnight tonight. You see some snow moving into Wyoming, where we're expecting heavy snow here. Snow along the Cascades, rain on the coast, rain in the northeast. Oh, I forgot to do this. There you go. That should help. And then you can see where we are too with the timestamps. This is midnight Monday night. And then as we get into Tuesday, we see that warmer air still hanging on for parts of Iowa, but cold for the northern part, and a little bit of snow there. As we go through time on Tuesday, heavy rain up here in Washington State. And that snow spreading into the panhandle of Idaho. Some pretty good rains down here, moving into, say, Tennessee, out of Arkansas, maybe even some showers, heavy rain, thunderstorms maybe around Memphis, and then heading up into Kentucky as well. And then meanwhile, it's rain for the Pacific Northwest, a little bit of light snow for Michigan. As we head through Wednesday, we see a cold front here. Showers and storms lining up along that, changing to snow in New York State, into Vermont and New Hampshire and Maine. Mainly it's rain for Connecticut into Massachusetts, southern New York City, and even New Jersey getting rain. Another little system here in the northern plains with some snow, North Dakota. Maybe some ice in South Dakota. This is midnight Wednesday night. This is Thursday. Snow heading into Minnesota, Wisconsin, staying north of Iowa for the most part. Northern Iowa getting clipped with that. The storm fizzles a little bit as it heads into Michigan, but that cold air is returning into the Midwest. So pretty strong north winds. This is Thursday night, and cold air back into Iowa, northern Missouri, some rain for the west coast. And as we go through the day, this is Friday. It's cold here and cold for all the way down through Kentucky with some snow, a little bit of light snow, Indiana into Ohio. Another storm approaching the Pacific Northwest and dying out, heading into Canada, And a little bit of light snow in the Dakotas. Pretty boring on Saturday. Not much going on. A little bit of light snow on our map. But as we head into Saturday, tiny bit of light snow here for parts of maybe eastern Iowa. It's Saturday still on the cold side, though, all the way down into the mid-Atlantic and through the Midwest and the Great Lakes, of course. But we'll start to see that warmer air sneak back in the second half of the weekend, pushing some of that colder air further to the east. But look how far south that 540 line is. It's all the way down into South Carolina and Georgia. So cold temperatures for parts of the southeast as we get into the weekend, second half of the weekend. This gets us through Sunday. Storm approaching the Pacific Northwest, rain and snow for Oregon and Washington. Moving inland, that's rain for you, Boise, on Sunday night, moving into Monday morning, but snow, of course, for the panhandle of Idaho and into the mountains there. Heavy rains for Northern California as we get into the day Monday. This is the 23rd, so approaching Christmas here. Don't see a whole lot of snow, but we do see some rain, Northern California into Oregon. A little bit of snow there for some of the mountainous areas. That's heavy rain for the Treasure Valley and the Gem State, but some snow around it in the higher elevations. Rain for the Pacific Northwest and wind picking up in Washington. This is approaching Christmas Eve. This is midnight Tuesday right here. And then as we head into Christmas Eve day, some scattered rain and snow showers in the Pacific Northwest and in California. Some rain here from Ohio back through Missouri, and some snow for the Northeast, where it looks like they will have a white Christmas. We'll show you that here coming up. Some rain and snow into California, into Nevada. Southern California getting some rain. They'll take that. Rain in Boise, snow in the mountains around. Some rain in northern Idaho, but some snow near the Canadian border. Again, this is Christmas Eve evening. And as we head into Christmas Eve midnight, here comes Santa Claus. Not a lot of places to land. Maybe into Nevada, up through, say, Yellowstone Park, and then a little bit of snow up here. Even into, well, not quite New Jersey, but parts of New York into Massachusetts. And as we get into Christmas Day, a little bit of light snow in the Northeast, a little bit of light rain here, some snow in Utah, maybe even Salt Lake, and also getting into Colorado, Arizona, New Mexico, seeing a little bit of snow in the mountains. As we go through the day, Christmas, this is noon, and this is afternoon, a little bit of ice up there in North Dakota. Snow picking up in the mountains of Colorado on Christmas Day. And the rain picking up in Washington State and the Oregon coast as we get to midnight Christmas, with some rain busting out Kansas, Oklahoma, into Texas, a little bit of light snow in Colorado. And that's rain. That's rain, midnight Christmas for Minnesota into Wisconsin. Craziness. All right, let's continue our high temperatures for the rest of the week. This is Thursday. So a quick warm up. So just reviewing Wednesday, cold in Iowa, but below freezing. And then Thursday, some warm air sneaks back in and warming up into the plains, also the southeast, and mid 50s for the Willamette Valley of Oregon. And that stays consistent Friday, but the cold air comes back into the Midwest with 20s for highs here in Iowa. A little bit cooler in the southern plains, but hanging on to the warmth for the southern southeast. And then we get into Saturday. moderating a little bit, but cold air all the way from Montana into Maine. And it's cooler in the southeast with only upper 40s for, say, Atlanta, even into, say, Memphis, low 40s. Sunday, Memphis hanging on to low 40s, mid 40s for Atlanta, mid 40s, low 40s into the mid-Atlantic. Cold air spreading into the northeast and hanging in there in the upper Midwest and Great Lakes. 8 to 14 day temperatures is just depressing. It's above average temperatures a good bit pretty much everywhere. U2 Alaska and U2 Hawaii. Precipitation wise, picking up for the Northwest. It's La Nina year. Northwest usually has colder and snowier and rainier winters for La Nina. And that's the opposite down there in the Southwest, and they're showing that with the usually warmer and drier for the Southwest and across the southern tier states for La Nina years. And there you see above average precipitation for Alaska. All right, things are getting interesting on one particular model. This is the Canadian model on Monday the 23rd, and we're showing some snow for northeastern Nebraska. For western Iowa, a mix in southern Iowa, but this changes the snow on the next couple frames. And then you get into Boise and there's a mix, but it's only the Canadian model because when we do a blend of all the models, snow on the ground at noon, Christmas Day. There's your smiley face for Idaho, but you don't have to drive far for some good sledding in the mountains. Of course, it's not a white Christmas in Oregon and Washington in the lower elevations, but Eastern Oregon. And then white Christmas, northern plains through the upper Midwest, into the Great Lakes and into the Northeast, with maybe up to a half inch just north of me here in Iowa. Looks like a white Christmas scattered through maybe parts of Nevada into Utah and into Colorado. So there you go. We'll see how it all plays out. We still have a little bit to go. 9 days till Christmas. And we'll keep you posted along the way. Thank you so much for tuning in. The Weather Mike. We'll see you tomorrow.